Hello and welcome to Chief Chat with Police Chief Lee Gavin and Fire Chief Dave Brogan. Welcome, gentlemen, to
Thank
another
you.
edition of Chief Chat.
Thank you.
A lot of stuff is happening in Dearborn Heights, but I think what's really on everybody's mind is going back to school. Now, a lot of parents are really happy about that. I'm not sure about the kids, but there'll be some normalcy back to some households. But in regards to that, your jobs get a little bit rougher because of the schools and the traffic and everything happening around drop-off and pickup, especially the first couple of weeks of schools. What do we do to make sure that we have some kind of controlled chaos kind of thing?
We ask our parents to obey the signs, the parking signs, the traffic signals. We get a big increase, the first few weeks of school.
Sure.
Everybody wants to
Crazy.
drive their children, make sure they're safe. And then we get an overload of traffic. And the issue is all the schools basically start at the same time. So we can't have officers at every school, in the morning. What we try to do is assign the officers there the first few weeks, and we try to give warnings to the people if they violate the parking signs. After a couple weeks, then we start writing violations because some of these parents just don't learn, and it takes a violation to get them to comply with the signs. More parents drive their children to school and drop them off. So there's a 10-minute period there in the morning and in the afternoon when the schools are congested. Our main safety is make sure the kids get from the cars to the schools, and in the afternoon from the school back to the cars safely. So we ask the parents to follow the signs. The signs are up there for a reason, for a purpose. Usually before the signs put up, our traffic officers review the area, and we take these signs, permanent placement of the signs go before the city council and they approve it. So we put a lot of work into, these signs and where they're going to be located.
Any new ones that parents and everyone needs to be cognizant of this year?
One of the new ones that I'm aware of is over at Highview School on Richardson. There's a stop sign on Highview and the one little east of there. And in the middle of the school, I believe it's Nightingale, there's a stop sign. So what we did is we put additional signs. People park too close to the stop sign. Law says you must park within, at least 20 feet away from the sign, and we'll get the parents pulled right up at the stop sign. Then the other people are driving by. They don't, the sign is either blocked or, they don't see it properly, and then they go through. So we ask them to pay attention to signs and be courteous to the other parents,
Sure.
the other students. Try to drive careful. And as you'll see, everyone in the community sees it. First 2-3 weeks of school, it's just congested around the school. So we're out there. We try to, help traffic, keep the flow of traffic going the best we can.
I know it's difficult, and it's just because of the nature of the beast, basically, but at Riverside on Warren, you get some of that traffic congestion because, the cars are sort of,
They back up there
and then
Warren Avenue.
Right, and not only do you get the traffic from the schools, you get the traffic from the public, and so you get a little bit of some issues there.
It gets congested. Then you'll have some parents on Warren Avenue want to let their kids out on Warren, and that stops traffic. Make sure you pull into the parking lot there on Warren, circle around, and when it's your time, let your children out. Don't let them off on Warren Avenue. Think you're going to get out of there sooner. Then you're leaving the kids at risk. And so if you're going to let them off at school, pull into the parking lot, wait for the right time, right place, and then let the kids off.
Right. Patience is a virtue.
Yes, we want to make sure no accidents around schools. We always seem to get some fender benders. We can deal with that, property damage. We just don't want a young school-age child being
God
injured
forbid.
near the school.
Absolutely. There was some no parking signs put up in a circular you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Is that something
Also,
we should address?
So our citizens are aware of in the community. A lot of our circles are courts. One I'll use, for example, is Graceland Court. Sometimes the signs over the course of the year get taken down, and there's supposed to be no parking in our cul-de-sacs, our courts. The fire department cannot get through there with the big fire truck or rescue. The plows cannot get through there. It's very hard for our garbage
Sure.
disposal companies to get through there. So if there's no signs up in a couple of those courts, you could give us a call, our traffic bureau, and we'll make sure they get installed. But So our residents are aware there's no parking. If you live in a circle, a cul-de-sac, whatever we call those, don't park in there. It just prohibits our emergency vehicles and, the city vehicles from getting in there.
So just be courteous and safe.
Yep.
And that's our motto in Dearborn Heights. And we also have the ping for alerts that alert us to different situations, whether they be weather or situations happening within the city and around the city. Talk to us about that and the progress that we've made.
Yeah, Ping 4 Alerts is it's a app for your smartphones, and so either if you have an Apple, you go to the App Store. If you have an Android, you go to the Play Store. Search Ping, P-I-N-G, and then the number 4 Alerts, and it will pop up. It's got a blue logo with a exclamation point in it.
It's a free app, right?
It's a free app, and you can set it up so it will use the location on your phone. So if you're driving anywhere that the community participates in this Ping 4 alert, if there's an alert in that area where you're at, it will automatically come to your phone, and you can set it up specifically for Dearborn Heights, so like by zip code also. So I have mine set up on the location on my phone, and also just in Dearborn Heights in case I'm outside of town and something happens in Dearborn Heights. I'll always know about it. It'll alert me on my phone. You'll get a audible alert and a little message, and you pull it down, and it'll take you to the app and let you know what's going on.
So weather,
even traffic. If there's they have to shut down a road, and if you have a large area, even like when we had the flooding last year, I think it was a year ago, just recently when we had that flooding.
That anniversary.
Yeah, we didn't celebrate it really.
Well,
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But during that flood, we had set up some area for people to go that couldn't get to their homes anymore. If they got out of their homes and they couldn't get back in, we set up some shelters.
Those who didn't have boats, basically.
Right. And we actually had some boats to help people get them out of their homes, and a lot of people weren't aware of the services we were offering. Actually, the mayor came down to the South End Station and was going out on calls with us. And I know Bob Ancrap had notified a couple different organizations, so we had even cots set up at the Young Center. We were prepared to house people if we had to, and all the residents weren't aware of the steps that we had taken to be prepared for this kind of event.
So the services were there, but we needed to
just getting the word out. And we had actually contacted some news agencies. I know that we had talked to Channel 7 and Channel 4, and we were trying to get the word out there, but there's only something like Ping 4, we could get that word out a lot sooner to the people that have participated and downloaded that app.
Well, summer is a major time for security issues and what have you. And I know our city is very vigilant on letting our residents know, what to do and how to deal with things. How has our summer been so far in terms of theft, larceny, what have you? I mean, have people been hearing that message, lock your doors, lock your car, be vigilant? How has our summer gone so far?
Summer's gone pretty peaceful. We still,
Thank you, God.
we still don't have enough of our residents locking their car doors. We're still having a rash of, we call them larceny from autos, where young folks will walk down the street, pull the door handle. If the door's open, they're going to rummage through the car. Most people leave either change in the center compartment,
the garage door
opener.
I do that.
Computers, iPads. So again, make sure you lock those doors. In our north end, recently we've been having a rash. Town and Country vans, the Chrysler Town and Countries, they're going into those and they're stealing the radio component in the center. It's a radio plus the computer, the backup camera. Supposedly they're easy to come out, and they're getting a high dollar on the street for them. So that's a big larceny item right now. So make sure in the street, in the driveway, lock those doors. Our B&Es, our home B&Es, we haven't had that many in the summer. Naturally, in the summer, the residents are outside. So you're aware if you see a suspicious person walking up your neighbor's driveway or a car pull up. So let's continue that. With our residents being alert and watching out for, our neighbors. With the winter coming, getting darker earlier, hopefully we hold off winter for a while. We're still in summer here.
A long while. I'm not a fan.
Nights getting shorter, it getting darker earlier. Again, we want our neighbors to be aware and watch out for our neighbors. If you have some elderly people, keep an eye on them make sure you see lights going on in the house and they're staying active.
Absolutely.
But yeah, lock your cars. The B&Es of the homes, we haven't had too many, so we've been good with that area.
Yes.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Summer is shortening. The daylight hours are getting a little shorter, and it's also getting a little cooler out there, and so people are probably going to be more apt to light up that fire pit. I know I want to, because I'm cold in 80-degree weather, and it's 60 degrees in August. I'm not happy, but fire pits are probably going to be a little bit more, relevant than they have, because it's been a little bit warmer. So, what can we talk about in terms of fire safety?
Again, with fire pits, you always, first of all, you want to have a means of extinguishing a fire handy. You have a garden hose nearby or something, which in the summertime, usually that's not a big deal. And you need to be 15 feet away from a property line or a structure. So try to be more in the center of your yard, try to be away, so you don't want to be having a hazard to any of your neighbors. You don't want to have a fire pit in your driveway in between the homes. We've seen some things like that. And the other thing, now that it's getting towards fall, is you can't rake up leaves and burn anything. Yeah, you could get some twigs maybe for kindling,
but no
you
leaves.
want it, right? No leaves, and you can't burn. You have to. You're burning it for a recreational fire. You're not burning it to clean up your yard, to get rid of yard waste or anything like that. That creates a different kind of smoke. You want to use the seasoned dry hardwood, and those are the main violations we see, is people aren't burning the right kinds of fuel, and they're not taking care to be away from a property line or a structure.
They have those fire guards that you can put on top of those.
Yeah, we recommend those. Yeah,
those are phenomenal.
They are.
Keep it contained.
Yeah, they keep it
more.
contained. Yeah, but even so, you still can't be too close to your neighbors.
No, absolutely
yeah,
not.
and just usually when the neighbors all have good relations, it's not a big issue. It's when there tends to be problems with the neighbors. They call us, and then we come out, and then we make sure if you're following the rules, we'll let you have the fire.
You're not using this anymore.
Yeah, we'll make you put a fire out. And if the smoke is blowing right into the house, or the smoke is just hanging right on top of the neighbor's property, and they're having a hard time breathing, or it's affecting the quality of their life, then we can have them put the fire out as well, even if you are following all the rest of the rules. But usually if you're burning the seasoned dry hardwood, it would take, it's just the different atmospheric conditions where the smoke is either going to burn up and go away, or if it's going to hang around the neighborhood and bother everybody.
Absolutely. Well, that's good advice and to know. And I know there's a lot of wonderful things happening within the police department, and we have some new hires that are coming in very soon, right?
Yes, starting September 9th, we're going to hire 3 more officers. That's going to bring us up to our budgeted amount. So a couple young gentlemen that are presently police officers now are going to come aboard. And so, like I said, that's going to bring us up to full staffing. So, yep, September 9th, we'll have 3 more young officers. We keep hiring, and we get the young officers and get the old timers to move on and bring in some fresh blood.
Is there any specific... Are they going to be charged with any specific area, or
No,
is it just
routine? Usually when you hire on, you get put on the road patrol and you work your regular day shift or midnight shift. And
they
then
got to pay their dues?
They got to pay their dues. When they get some time on, then they can bid for other positions, let it be canine, narcotic, different type of positions in the police department. So,
now, what are the criteria for being hired as a police officer?
Again, in Dearborn Heights, we have an established police officer list. We started back in May, and that list is good for 2 years unless we hire everyone off the list. But in Dearborn Heights, you need 60 credit hours, plus you have to be MCOL certified. What that is you have to put yourself through the police academy. So you need to have been through the police academy and then have 60 credit hours. And then you apply for the city when we have our test, and then you're on the list. Depending on your score, it's a combination of a written test and an oral board. And the combined scores, you go on the list, and then we take them in order on the list.
Great. So there is an educational aspect
Yes.
to this. You have to have some kind of a
60
degree,
credit hours.
so 60 credit hours. The fire department has pretty much the same criteria as well?
We do. We actually just made a slight change to our college credits. We still require 60 college credits, but we require you to have a paramedic license and a firefighter 1 and 2, which is the fire academy. usually when you take those classes, you get college credits for them. But there are certain programs out there now where you can take the classes and still get the same certification, but you don't get the college credits for them. So there are people out there that are certified and they have the same education, they just didn't get the credits, and so.
So you're making allowances for
Yeah,
that?
so we're going to give the equivalent credits that you would have had. We're going to count those. So you need 30 college credits. If you didn't already get the college credits, you need Fire 1 and 2 and paramedic, and then an additional 30 college credits. So that still adds up to the 60 college credits that we require.
And the fire department is going to be hiring
yep,
as well.
Yep, we've opened up for applications right now, and we're looking for. We're hoping to get a good number of qualified candidates because we did get the SAFER grant, and that's going to fund 8 positions, and we'll be back up to full staffing. The applications will be open until September 10th. So you have until September 10th. You can go on our website. You could call HR, and they could give you the they could walk you through the process of what you need to do.
Great. And through that grant, we're able to hire more firefighters. And what about the rescue vehicles? Have we're also increasing the number of those through that same grant, or through
we're going to replace?
funding?
No, it's a separate grant. They're both federal grants. One is called the SAFER grant, and that's for the staffing of firefighters. And that's where we got staffing for 8 firefighters for 2 years, and that's for $889,000. It came out to. Now, it could be a higher number if we find veterans, someone that's been honorably discharged from the military. We'll get an additional year. So actually, if any military applicants, if we get any military applicants, we give them special scoring too. They'll get for the months of service, they'll get 1/12 of a point.
Well, there's an entity called Hiring Our Heroes who are veterans,
right.
And always looking for positions.
Yeah,
so
that's
that's
correct.
a great
Yeah,
field to look into.
and actually, if they have a current paramedic license, we'll put them through Fire 1 and 2. We'll pay to put them through after we hire them, actually. So that's another exception we'll make just for our honorably discharged veterans.
Sure,
so
absolutely.
Yeah, it's something. It's just the right thing to do with people that have served for our country. So.
Absolutely.
Oh, you asked about the squad grant. I'm sorry. That's also that's called the AFG grant, an Assistance to Firefighters grant, and there are several different styles of that. We just got this. The one we wrote for this year was for a new rescue squad, and they'll only authorize up to $150,000 for an ambulance, and we got that full amount. I mean, you have a 10% match. It came out to like $136,000.
How many new
That's
cars?
for one. We only pay for one. Yeah. Now we're getting 2 new rescue squads,
Okay.
and they cost more than that because we get the larger ones that last a little bit longer, a little more comfortable ride for the
Makes more
patients.
sense,
Yeah.
quality.
Yeah. And so, but we're going to apply that. Our current first line rescues have they have a lot of very hard miles on them, and they're getting very expensive to keep on the road. So we're going to get the 2 new rescue squads this year. We probably won't get them. It'll probably still take 6 to 9 months to get them by the time you're done with the specs and the bidding process and everything else. It takes some time to get them actually in and in service.
Absolutely amazing. That's wonderful. It looks like we're regaining those that we've lost in the staffing.
Over the course of the years,
fabulous.
updating our equipment and our personnel.
Absolutely. Dearborn Heights is an amazing place to live, and it's very safe. And our demographics are changing a little bit. And I know that very recently we had an issue with a woman who wears the headscarf, and she was arrested. And there was some issues that happened. I know Dearborn went through a lot of growing pains with that, and so Dearborn Heights has been absolutely amazing, and you two gentlemen on keeping current and making sure things are in place. But talk to us a little bit about that. Ms. Kazan was her name, and she was represented by one of the attorneys, Amir Macklid, in one of the conglomerates. I don't know what law firm, but it was about the hijab and being arrested. Yeah. So give us a little synopsis and what is our. And I know we came up with a solution, as Dearborn Heights always does. But talk to us about that.
Yeah, this incident here, we had a policy in place. We had a young lady arrested, and when you're arrested, you always get a photo taken and
A mugshot.
fingerprinted. Mugshot. So we had no...
Not always favorable, but
Right.
it's a mugshot.
So what
It's a
they
picture.
did is in the booking area, they made her take off her hijab, her headscarf, and they took a picture of her. We have a policy that in place that says we try to use the women, to take a photo. There's sometimes we don't have women working. This night we didn't, so they took a quick picture, mugshot, and she was released, pending when she got printed and all that. So they filed a lawsuit against the city, and we come up to a resolution. What we did is we modified our policy. Our policy now states if we have a female come in with the headscarf, the hijab, we will take them into another room, a bathroom with a female, just that prisoner and the female officer or dispatcher or whoever we are using will take that hijab off and check for safekeeping, make sure there's no contraband in there, allow her to put it back on her head, and then we'll take a mug shot of her that way. If we're going to send that prisoner down to Wayne County, or we're going to house that prisoner if it's a felony, or they're going to stay with us for a while, then what we have is we have a paper scarf that we'll place onto their head. They'll be placed in cell, with that paper scarf. This policy, we met with, naturally the city and the other attorney, and he took the policy back to a lot of the imams in the city, and they reviewed the policy. So we feel very good with the policy now that they approved it. We implemented the new policy. It was a slight change from our existing. So now we know one of the first departments in Michigan that have the policy that's in place that the community accepts. When they took it out to the imams out there and they come back and said this policy is acceptable, then it made us feel good that we have a policy in place. Every agency has different policies dealing with the headscarf, the hijab in a different matter, but we have our policy in place, and I think a lot of agencies have called us and asked us about the policy. So I think it's kind of a leading policy in the area. So
Absolutely.
We feel good about it.
Great. And you know what? Excuse me. Given the fact that it was her license had elapsed.
Suspended license.
It was not a criminal kind of activity. It
was the end of the world, right?
Right. So allowing for those kinds of things, sort of it makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
So kudos to our police department.
And if you see, since then, you've seen in the news, there's been some lawsuits. I think Dearborn has an issue going on now. Up north over the sand dunes, there was a lawsuit filed up there. The same type of issue where young lady gets arrested and the officers take the hijab off and take the pictures. Like you said earlier, we're changing community and we're trying to adapt with our residents, and we're trying to accommodate everybody in the best we can. We're concerned for the safety of our officers, the safety of other prisoners in a jail, so we just want to do things right.
Absolutely, and we don't want to escalate a situation
Right.
that can be contained. During a lot of the diversity trainings, I've been very fortunate to be able to go to the different fire departments, and that has been one of the conversations. And just a simple solution can just eradicate any kind of anything that needs to escalate. So that communication process.
Communication is important.
Right. Diversity training is so important.
Yes.
You can squash something that could just escalate so easily just by that understanding and where that other person's coming from.
And with the police officers out there, when they get called to a house, people want to talk. You'll get the older people call. Maybe their flowers were trampled down by a neighbor. This, and that. You know what? They just want an officer to vent to, and that's so important with our officers. We try to stress to them, just listen to the people. Give them their 5 minutes, their 10
Right.
minutes. That will make those seniors and most people feel like that officer genuinely cared about the situation.
Absolutely. And if he is listening, he actually does. So
He does.
it makes a huge difference. Usually we always talk about 4th of July, and we talked about it before, and now that it's over, how did our city fare?
We actually came out of it pretty well. We didn't have any major incidents. There were some incidents in the general vicinity, but Dearborn Heights itself came out of it okay. It was very loud, of course. I think there was a lot of noise complaints. We did have a fire.
My dog was,
yeah.
oh my goodness.
We had a garage fire on the night of the 4th, right at 10:30, at the heart of all of the noise, and everyone thought for sure it was a firework. but it wasn't. It started inside the garage, and so and they weren't doing any fireworks. It was in the garage. It was probably a charger. Well, but it wasn't a firework, and the whole garage burned. And like I said, there were fireworks going off everywhere, as I think you can all say. It did seem to settle down after midnight, but it wasn't.
Sort of.
It was a long weekend.
It
Yeah.
was.
You know, we ask our residents
Take it to the
Yeah, they
limit.
do.
to the limit.
Yeah.
We ask our residents again. There's, a couple websites out there where you can go to and forward emails to our state legislators, and we need them to change the laws. Again, with the present laws, they can light the fireworks off the day before, the day of, and the day after a holiday. And there's 12 holidays a year, so that's 36 days a year that they're allowed to light those things off. And I think we've all seen enough in our community, and it's time to put a little restrictions on them. So if you're interested, get online and get with your legislator, your senator, congressman, and see if they
Absolutely.
can change
Yeah.
them.
And we really did not get off scot-free. I mean, as a state, there were 3 football players we were talking about that.
Yeah, that was across the country.
Across
Yeah,
the
they had
country.
3 football players injured. Very seriously injured. They
One
lost
lost his
fingers.
fingers.
Yeah, a couple of them did. And we had someone else that. We had 2 people that died from firework accidents. So I mean, a lot of them it was probably their own fault. But these, if they weren't dealing with these large explosives, they wouldn't have died. It would have just been, they might have injured themselves, but it wouldn't have killed them. So these aren't things you can take lightly. They're big explosives, and it doesn't. I've said this over and over, but it doesn't make sense in our community when you have a community that's densely populated, where our
Right.
homes are
Neighborhoods.
they don't belong in a neighborhood like that, and you need to have local controls. Your local government should be able to make some kind of policy that makes sense for their own community, and the state has taken that away. I'd like to see the control go back to the local units of government.
Absolutely. I think writing to our senators and just trying to change that policy. Once those fireworks were legalized, I think, a lot of people, we have Dave Rexroth,
Yeah.
lost an eye. I mean, you look at people who are responsible and know how to deal with these things, but accidents happen, and then you have these things in the hands of kids. And just the catastrophes that could happen.
Kids and then drinking over the holidays, and it just makes for a bad issue.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we need to be careful. Hopefully by next 4th of July,
Hopefully.
Let's hope
this
so.
will be different. So let's
Yes.
write to our senators
Yes,
and
exactly.
congressmen. I want to thank you both for being here. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
so much,
Thank you.
Chief and Chief.
Thank you, Sam.
And thank you for keeping Dearborn Heights safe. And thank you for joining us today on Chief Chat. We'll see you next time.